And this next gentleman, let me tell you, I have the pleasure. I mean, it's so humbling to me to be standing here right now, having the opportunity to introduce this particular individual. Why? Because I've watched him for years. I've studied him for years. I always wondered if one day I would ever be lucky enough to have the opportunity to work with this individual or be around him in close quarters, because he's the most highly recruited network marketer in the country and probably in the world. He's an individual that has made 7 figures on a consistent basis in this industry. He has a team that follows him to the ends of the earth, and we are so blessed to have him here with us today. I want to bring up Mr. Cedric Harris.
Come on.
One dancing. Hold on for a second. I don't have a job, and today you don't have a job. Serious. First of all, we're real relaxed here. We're extremely relaxed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, why Evolv and why right now. But before I do so, quick question. How many of you are from Florida? Very cool, very cool. How many of you were affected by the real estate economy over the past couple of years here in Florida?
Right here.
4,000, 500,000, now it's worth 50 cents.
I'm at 65.
Been there, done that. Okay. Trying to give you a little bit about my background and how I got here. I've actually been in direct sales all my life. When I was very young, my father taught me how to get out of punishment. He told me how to convince my mom of certain things, and I thought this convincing thing was pretty cool, so I focused on it for the rest of my life. Then when I was 19 years young, somebody dragged me to a hotel meeting and told me about network marketing. It never happened in the interview. Some of y'all got dragged here today, had no idea what you was coming to see. Yeah. I went to a room, and it was in the early 90s. This was before the internet. Okay, and there was a gentleman that was actually drawing circles on the board. And he said, you get 3, and 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 we all make $1 gazillion. Any of y'all ever saw it? I thought it was unequivocally crazy because I skipped geometry class, and I said, I don't like circles. But here's what I noticed. The guy that was at the front of the room, he was not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and he was making $65,000 a month in the 90s. Everybody say, now that's the equivalent to making 6 figures a month right now based off of inflation. So when I looked at him, I said, I don't know what y'all are selling, but if it's legal, I'm in. And I got in. And it was in the communications industry with a little company called Excel Communications. Anybody ever heard of it? That was back when they had long distance on your phone. MCI, Sprint, Bell, the big 3. They were charging 19, 20 cents a minute. Excel was doing it for 10. I went out and I was IOF. Anybody know what IOF is? Ignorance on fire. I was just signing up. Everybody who had a what? Telephone. If they had a telephone, I signed them up. Now, how many of y'all know someone who has a throat? Okay, see, some of y'all are going to complicate this. Some of y'all are going to complicate this. You know someone who has a throat? How many of y'all know somebody who has a throat again? Just checking. Some of y'all just ain't going to raise your hand. I can dig it. I can dig it. Here's the reason why I asked you that question. You know anybody who does that every day? How many times do you get paid when people do that? Let me show you again. How many times do you get paid when people do that? Y'all remember the Arsenio Hall show? Yeah. One of those things to make you say, interesting. Keep that thought in mind. Excel changed some things. We kind of started doing different things, different companies, and I ended up in the mortgage industry. I answered the ad in the Richmond Times-Dispatch, where I'm from, in 2001. It said this would be the last job you would ever take in your life. How many of y'all ever read those goofy ads before? I thought it was hilarious, but I answered the ad. Came to the office, and when I got to the office, it was one of those offices that you didn't know what they sold. You know how you go somewhere and you end up and they sell vacuum cleaners or something? Just a fax machine, a computer, the walls are all blank, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. But I went into the office, and the manager was extremely busy. Phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call. And I remember something that my father taught me when I was young. He said, Cedric, you always do business with people that are busy. And he was taking call after call after call after call. I said, Sam, what do you guys sell here? He said, we do mortgages. I said, what kind of mortgages? He said, VA loans. I said, what's a VA loan? He said, someone who was in the military. I said, interesting. How does this work? He said, we give you a lead. You go out to the home. It's a one-call close. I said, okay, I know how to close. That's no challenge. How much are the loan amounts? Anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000. You don't sell, you don't eat. I said, great. This is what I know how to do. Cool. Give me the leads. And I went out in the field. Within 90 days, I was the #2 loan officer in the whole country out of 1,000 loan officers, and the owner thought it was a fluke. He sent me off to 3 different states to see if I could do it in those states because he felt that Virginia was the most populated state for veterans, second to California, so it must have been a fluke. They sent me to Cali, I did it in Cali. They sent me to North Carolina, I did it in North Carolina. They sent me to King of Prussia, PA, I did it in King of Prussia, PA. Got a phone call, Cedric, congratulations. You're the owner, you're the manager of our new Detroit, Michigan office. Ooh, the average manager is making between $300,000 to $600,000 a year, and they were between 25 and 35 years young. And I was 25. I said, Bill, when do I move? He said, tomorrow. Tomorrow. When someone that's worth $400 million tells you that you move tomorrow, guess when you move? Tomorrow. So I moved to Michigan. How many of y'all familiar with Michigan? Nobody ever told me the time zone changed in the same state. Got used to Michigan, started hiring, recruiting, and training. The office started doing about $20 million a month of revenue. They sent me back to Richmond to fix the office because the office was broke. The owner said, Cedric, you got 2 weeks. I said, 2 weeks for what? He said, you got 2 weeks to fix the office. 2 weeks, that's it. The office is closing at 37%. They're throwing up on all my leads. I need you to fix this. Came back home, fired half the crew on the spot, retrained everybody in 2 weeks, and went from 30-some-odd% to 72%. Owner called up and said, congratulations. I said, well, you congratulate me on now. I think you should stay in Richmond. What about Bob? Pass Bob the telephone. Hey, Bob, it's Bill. Bill who? Bill who signs your checks. Hey, Bill, what's up? You're fired. Get out. You got in the room ever got fired before? Not a good feeling, is it? You ever got fired from a job that pays you $500,000 a year? That's a worse feeling. He got fired, and see, at the time, Bob was the guy who trained me. So it was kind of like, damn your son, telling Mr. Miyagi what to do. It's a little different. But in Richmond, within a year and a half, that office did $1.1 billion in mortgages, funded out of the door for those of you that have a real estate and/or mortgage license. These weren't loans that were written. We funded $1.1 billion out of one office. And I became a millionaire at a very young age. And I thought the sky was going to fall. There's another phone call. Said we were thinking, why don't you come and run the whole company? I said, little old me. You want me to move to Florida and run the whole company as the president of marketing? Absolutely. St. Petersburg, Florida Mortgage Investors Corporation used to be the largest employer in St. Petersburg, Florida. My old boss, Bill Evers, is the richest man in Treasure Island, Florida. He runs the McCaffrey Theater. He's the biggest real estate investor in all of TI, as well as St. Pete. And the guy is a magician, and I learned a lot of stuff from him, and I'm forever humbled. When I moved here in 2003, I was light-skinned. Things changed. It's a little while, and then all of a sudden, the market changed. Anybody notice? Did you get a warning? And no warning, right? All of a sudden, the bank stopped funding loans. Everything changed. Your house was going up in value like crazy. You bought a house for $100,000, and a couple of years later, it was worth $400,000. And you pulled out equity loans and HELOCs and option arms and all this crazy stuff, and then it stopped. It all stopped with no warning. You see, I told my old boss, I said, Bill, I love you, but when this starts to feel like work, I can't do it anymore. Because my definition of work is something that you do when you'd rather be doing something else. I don't like to work. If you shake my hand, you'll find out they're very soft. I don't like to work. It started to feel like work. People were making 100 grand a month, they started making 20 grand a month. People were driving nice cars, they started hiding from the repo men. See, when you start making 80 grand a month in the mortgage industry or the real estate industry, and nobody taught you about money, guess what you do? You live on 80 grand a month. You live on 100,000 a month. And you don't think it's ever going to rain. And it started raining, and boy, it was pouring. So on January the 3rd, 2005, I made the last drive across the Howard Franklin Bridge, and I said, I can't do this anymore. But I was psychologically unemployable, and I knew I wasn't going back to work for nobody. But I went fishing for 3 months. Every day, fishing every single day. I enjoyed it, had a blast. Used to drive my neighbors insane. Bought one of those big Walmart lights that light up the whole freaking place, and I go fishing at 2 o'clock in the morning. Neighbors calling the cops on me. I'm out there playing music. Why is this guy at 2 o'clock in the morning playing music and fishing? Because I don't have a job. I got nothing else to do. I love fishing. And I would recruit the police when they came. I had to get back into network marketing, so I got on the internet and I started looking at business after business after business after business after business. How many of y'all have seen these guys in their flip-flops making 20, 30, 50 grand a month from home, and you're like, that ain't that. I've got this philosophy that if you can do it, I can do it. Because guess what will happen if I pull out a knife and cut you off? You don't bleed. No matter who you are, black, white, red, purple, green, young, old, you're going to bleed blood. So my philosophy is if you can do it, I can do it. Everybody in this room puts on their pants one leg at a time. Every single breathing person. So when I saw these people making that kind of money, I said, I guess I'm getting in that game. Long story short, got in that game, became a top income earner at numerous different companies, co-authored a book with Deepak Chopra, Jack Canfield, and Dr. Dennis Waitley, traveled the world with Jim Rohn, Mark Victor Hansen, Jerry Clark, all these guys is having a blast. Then all of a sudden, somebody introduced me to a company selling gold and silver. Anybody notice what was going on with gold and silver lately? I said, gold and silver, network marketing, interesting. I got in and I started selling it like crazy. In 18 months, I had half of the whole company in my downline. I personally sponsored 416 people front line, and it was going ham. You know what ham is, right? You can say this stuff when you don't got a job. It was going ham. So then all of a sudden, it kind of chilled. Because I noticed that nobody woke up early in the morning and got excited and jumped out of the bed and said, I want a silver coin. How many of y'all jumped up this morning and said, I want some silver? I want some gold. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. So I had to reinvent myself. Got introduced to another company. Went to the top of the comp plan in 6.5, 7 months. Became a 7-figure earner in the company. And then I realized, after looking down at thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, how many people were winning? I realized that I liked the products, but I wanted to expand, because I have this philosophy that at the end of the day, if you can market something that is consumable, that people do every single day, you can build a long-lasting residual income. Now, when you think about that, here's what I figured out. I figured out, when I looked at coffee, I couldn't argue with it. Some of y'all are going to think too hard today, but I'm going to give you a reason not to think so hard. So let me give you some facts. How many of y'all passed by Dunkin' Donuts lately? Sure. Have you noticed that the sign went from a donut sign to a coffee mug? Yeah. Interesting. Did you know the second most profitable product in McDonald's is coffee? Second to the syrup that makes the sodas. Did you know that 500 million cups of coffee are drank every single day? 500 million. Everybody say billion. Billion. That's so sexy. 500 million cups? Are you kidding me? Coffee is the second most consumed beverage on the planet, second to water. 50% of people drink it. People wake up in the morning, they can't even start their day off without a cup of coffee. How many of y'all thought that when Starbucks opened up, there was going to be a flop? Be honest. Oh, I was the only one? Y'all really thought that people were going to pay $5 and $6 and $8 for coffee? No way. Most people didn't think that. 2011 Entrepreneur of the Year, owner of Starbucks. Starbucks are every corner, all over the place. People pay $5, $6, $7 a day for coffee like it's going out of style. You do it unconsciously. Unconsciously, you stand in line for 20 minutes for a mocha with some whipped cream on it and a little muffin. And you wait in line for 20 minutes. I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was in San Francisco. There was a Starbucks on one corner, and it was a line out the door. And then directly across the street, there was another one, and there was a line out that door. And I said, people have the nerve to doubt this thing. Are you kidding me? How addictive? Listen, crack is illegal. But it's addictive, isn't it? If it was legal and healthy for you, my last name would be Brown. First name, Nino. Some of y'all will get that in 20 minutes. Here's the reason why I say this, though. Here's the reason why I say this. I want you to think about this. Why? Because people what? Consume it. They consume it, and then they keep coming back. And that was bad for you. It's not healthy, so we don't start that. But when you start to think about coffee, you got to think that people consume it without even thinking. People drink water without even thinking. How many of y'all don't drink water? Exactly. You will be dead. We sell water. When was the last time you went into a convenience store and you did not see a full gigantic section of energy drinks? There's not a convenience store that you can go to right now that doesn't have a box of 5-hour energy at the top. Right. Think about all these things that people are doing on a regular basis. So as you go through this, I do not want you to overthink this. I want you to understand how simple this is. Because you see, in our brain, we have been conditioned to think and think and think and marinate and think and marinate and think and marinate. And guess what happens? You make no money on the left-hand side of your brain. Money is made on the right-hand side of your brain. This is the logical side of your brain. So I'm going to ask all of you to hop out of the logical side of your brain really quickly, because you have never, in the history of mankind, ever made a logical decision. Ever. How many of y'all in the room are married? Is that logical or emotional? It's emotional. Because if it was logical, ladies, you would come home, the dishes would be in the sink, and you would look at your husband and say, you can't even wash those? I'm getting me another man. That would be logical. Okay, we make emotional decisions, and guess what we do? We justify it with logic. We justify it with logic. So I need all of you to get into your emotional state of mind. And I want you to think about what I'm getting ready to tell you right now. You see, ever since you were a youngster, you've been conditioned. Can somebody give me a paper towel, please? Ever since you were a youngster, you've been conditioned. How many of you feel like you've been conditioned ever since you were a youngster? Let me explain to you, for those of y'all that do not feel like you've been conditioned. From the 1st grade to the 5th grade, you were conditioned to do something for 8 hours, 5 days a week, and get a result. Then you left elementary school and went to middle school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 3 years to get a result. Then you went to high school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 4 years to get a result. Then some of you went to college, 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for 4 more years to get a result. You spent 16 years conditioned to do something for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to get a result. And then when you go into the work world, what do? You open up the newspaper and you look for a job that pays you hourly, because you have been conditioned to do something for hours a day, 40 hours a week, and you had no idea that you were conditioned like this since you were in elementary school. Right. Wow. Come on. Wow. That's true. Come on. Wow. That's why we call it food street. So when people start to see a way outside of the box, they start to overthink it. It can't be that simple. There's no way. Yes, there is a way.
That's right.
Work is something that you do when you'd rather be doing something else. There's some of y'all are saying, okay, say it, I get that part. But this looks like one of those pyramid thingies. It's one of those pyramid thingies, Cedric. And when people say that, I actually laugh. I laugh hysterically. I mean, my doggone Eddie Murphy laugh comes out. It is fun. Because the first thing I say when people say, this looks like one of those pyramid things, I say, what do you mean, like your job? My job isn't a pyramid. Really, you got a boss? Whoop. Your boss got a boss? Whoop. Is there a general manager? Whoop. Is there somebody who bosses you around? Whoop. Is there a regular manager? Whoop. Where do you fall in that pyramid? At the bottom. Who comes to work when they feel like it? The boss. Who, if they come to work late, they're looking for a new job? Who takes off when they feel like it? The boss. Who has to put in 2 months advance notice to take 2 days off? Who pays themselves what they want? Who pays you just enough so you don't quit and you do just enough so you don't get fired? Wow. Interesting. See, for those of y'all that think this is a pyramid thing, I want you to do me a favor. Next time you go spend $1, I want you to understand that a pyramid is the most solid structure on planet Earth. Period in the story. You have never in the history of mankind ever heard of a pyramid blow down. No Hurricane Katrina, no Hiroshima, no tornado, no nothing has ever blown a pyramid down ever. Ever. They've been here for a gazillion, 10 million, bazillion years. And they're so sound and so solid that on the back of your $1 bill, there's a pyramid. And where's the eyeball at? At the top doing what? Looking down. Looking down. Now, isn't that interesting? Why are they at the bottom looking up? You know what that tells me when I spend dollars every day? I better be building my own pyramid. Right. First billionaire of this century, J. Paul Getty, he said it the best. I would rather have 1% of 100 people than to have 100% of myself. How many of you can work 100 hours in a day? 200 hours in a day. A day. I was about to say you good. 500. Anybody can work a couple hundred hours in a day. The maximum you can probably work is maybe 21, 22 hours, and that's if you take a 2-3 hour puff daddy nap. Otherwise, you're like so dead, it's crazy. Here's the reason why I say this. This business is about leverage. This business is about leverage. And the reason why that is so important, is because I could enroll Jose and Tom inside of Evolv, and they might know some people that I don't know. And let's say Jose and Tom enroll the rest of the next 3 rows. And I don't know Tashina, is it? Tashina, that's a pretty name. I don't know Tashina, but I enrolled Jose. When Jose enrolls Tashina, or she buys products or gets inside the business, Jose gets paid, but guess who else gets paid? I don't know Tashina from FanDuel. I love her. Then Tashina enrolls Robert. Tashina does the same exact thing. Tashina gets paid and Jose gets paid, but guess who else gets paid? And I don't know Robert. But man, I love Robert. And it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. Are y'all getting this?
Yes, sir.
You can't stop it. You can't stop it. You're at the grand opening of our Tampa Center. This is the grand opening. This is the beginning of the beginning. This is the beginning of the beginning. So sit back and absorb everything that you're seeing today. But what I want you to do is to understand that if you decide to join us, you're making a decision. If you don't decide to join us, you're making a decision. Now, some of y'all are going to decide to leave here and say, okay, that sounds good, you know, some rah-rah session, la-da-da-da. You know, that guy, he knows how to speak in front of the room, good for him, I can't do that. Great, you don't have to do it. And what I'm doing right now is the #1 fear on the planet, public speaking. People would rather die or be set on fire. You would rather someone truly give a eulogy at your funeral than you give a eulogy at someone else's. Public speaking. But can you plug people into someone who can't do it? Can you press play on a DVD player? Can you press play on your computer? I'm going to prove to everybody in here that they can do this business. Everybody put up a pink finger. Everybody, I gotta see them all, or we can't move any further. Last participation. Party cool. Pinky finger, whatever. I don't have a job. Pinky finger. Put up a finger. On the count of 3, I want everybody to go. Shit on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's all we do. Can you press play on your computer? Can you press blend on your blender? Hello? Can you open up a pack of coffee? That's all we do. If you can do that, keep this that simple. That is what we do. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to pacificate, meditate, do all this stuff. Because you want to treat it like a professor at college. Here's what I figured out. A professor at college makes about 100 grand, 150 grand a year. I learned a long time ago to learn from people who have what I want, not people who have what I already have. So if you want to make 100 grand a month, you can't learn from somebody who makes 150 grand a year. If you want to learn how to make 20 grand a month, you don't learn from someone who makes 20 grand a year. You plug into the people who have what you want. Think about that. If you were just 10% as good as Cameron, you'll be making between 8 and 12 grand a month. 10%. And as I look around the room, he is the only person with a wrinkled shirt. If you were 10%, but he's the #1 income earner in this company. So guess what? He can walk around with a wrinkled shirt because he makes in a month what a lot of people make in a year. This disclaimer, these results are not typical. So the reality is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Everybody do me a favor. Grab the form that's in your hand here really quickly. Let's review a couple of things. First kit that you're going to see is the starter kit. That's at $4.99. Now, I want to put this into perspective because if you were to go try to open, where's John at? Hey, John, if somebody, John is a very, very lucrative business owner. John, if somebody wanted to open up a Domino's pizza right now, how much would it cost?
$260,000.
How many do you have?
7.
And how much leverage do you have from a Domino's?
Not much.
Hello? $500 to invest in a business, and you don't have to be there 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. You don't have to put ads on Craigslist to hire a bunch of drivers. You don't have to have people coming in there and slapping pizzas and then eating all your food. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, how many of y'all want to invest $250,000 in a business to have that? Exactly. $500, and you got your business started. Now, a lot of you have automatic income reducers in your home right now, aka your television that you spent more than $500 on. How much money has it made you lately? Because every time you look at a TV show, guess what you're doing? You're making someone else money. Because they got to have ratings. Without good ratings, they kill the show, don't they? So every time you cut it on, you just made somebody else money. Not to mention that every time you cut it on, guess what else you did? You just spent money on electricity. $500 gets you cranked up inside of your business. The top kit that you see there is the Momentum kit. That's $9.99. The $9.99 level, you're going to get everything that you see at the $4.99 level, plus a significant amount of samples to be able to put in people's hands. Now, why do you want to put samples in people's hands? Because about 10 minutes ago, I asked you all, how many of y'all make money? So people do this. How many of y'all would like to make money? Only 3 of you are interested. Ladies and gentlemen, putting the samples in people's hands takes care of it. It eliminates from you having to explain. Everybody you know drinks water, they drink coffee, get the samples like the samples do. So $4.99, $9.99. If you're looking at this and say, okay, Cedric, I'm not really interested in business. I'm cool. I make all the money that I want every single month. And you want to jump on the products, you have the opportunity to pick whatever products that you want. Keep it in mind that we're talking about a $5 decision. You are not spending any extra money. All you're doing is taking the money that you're going to spend anyway and spending on something healthier. And even if you become a customer only, you can refer 3 people that you know as a customer and get your product for your favorite 4-letter word for free. Now, even though all of you in the room know some people that go to Starbucks, right? A lot of you know people that go to Starbucks. If Starbucks gave you free coffee every single day because you referred 3 of your friends to go to Starbucks, how many people would you send to Starbucks? Everybody, right? Okay, so you can save that $5 on a cup of coffee. Great. Everybody keep nodding their head, everybody become a bobblehead? Okay, fantastic. That's what you're doing here. Same exact thing. Okay? Whether it's coffee, whether it's shakes, whether it's limitless, whether it's C-Prime, no matter what product it is, you have the ability. So in closing, here's what I want to tell everyone. Some of y'all are going to leave here, marinate, pacificate, and do one of those words that I hate called procrastinate. Or you're going to go home and talk to someone who isn't here, a friend of yours, and you're going to say, you know, I just left one of those rah-rah thingies. You know, one of those pyramid MLM thingies where they start drawing circles and trying to get at 3, get 3, get 3, get 3, get 9, get 27, get 81, get 2 million, and we all make $10 million a month. Yeah. Johnny, what do you think? And Johnny wasn't here. And all Johnny is going to do is give you his opinion of what he think it is. And he wasn't here. And most of the time when people do that, they're asking the opinion of someone who is not in the financial position that they want to be in. Someone that is their equal or beneath them. So I highly advise you, if you do not make a decision now and you leave this room to ask someone of their opinion of something that they did not see, make sure they make at least $100,000 plus a month. Because if they don't, you are asking the wrong person. You're asking the wrong person. Some of y'all are going to do this anyway. You'll do it anyway. I know you are. But here's what I will tell you. For those of y'all that are very smart entrepreneurs in the room, and those of y'all that understand that you seize an opportunity because everything is based upon timing, here's your shot. Here's your shot to not procrastinate. Here's your shot to make a decision. Here's your shot to join a winning team. Because at the end of the day, there's only 3 types of people in this room right now. 3. The type of people that make things happen, the type of people that watch things happen, and the type of people that have been here for the last hour and a half that are going to walk out here and say, what happened? You have the opportunity to figure out which one you are. But I promise you, 2 out of the 3 don't pay very well. With that being said, we're going to take a 5-minute break. 5-minute break. How many minutes? 5.